All right, so we're just finishing up this kind of hand-done type. Really simply, in order to get the cutouts from my letters, in order to see it, I use transparency, and I take that opacity down. Then I can see my sketching, and then on a new layer, I draw out where I want that opening to be, make a new shape. Just for visual clarity, I fill that in with a white fill and no stroke. So you can see where it's going to cut out. And then I subtract one from the other. But because I took the opacity down, when I subtract it, one from the other, it's going to merge them together into one. So I use the Pathfinder and I use the minus, and it cuts it out. And because it took two paths and then made it into one path, now it thinks its transparency is combined, and so I can bring it back up to 100%. Right. Now let's do it for the P just really quickly, because a lot of letter forms have undercuts like that. Take the transparency down so I can see, and then make a new path where I cut that interior shape out. I have smooth on, which can make it so it's not exactly what I want. So I got to start on the path with the pencil tool and end on the path. There we go. And then I'm going to fill it with white and no stroke. And then I am simply going to select the P underneath, select the white shape on top, then use the Pathfinder and minus the top from the bottom to cut it out. And then I'm going to go to transparency and going to bring it back up to 100%. Okay, so now I've got that type on the top. I can still work with it, of course, but that's all hand done. Now for the bottom, let me try a different technique. So let me lock all of these, make a new layer for the bottom text. And this new layer, I'm going to use the type tool, just like you would in Google Slides or in Canva or in a word processor. I'm going to make a type box, and it's going to fill it with what's called Latin text. This is just gibberish. And then I'm going to go to my properties and find my character options, right? And I'll go ahead and use Myriad Pro. That's just the default, regular. But instead of being 12 point, which it is right now, I want it to be like 555 point. Okay, now that's a little too big, so I'm going to take it down. And then I'm going to type my word in it. So that should be about right. All caps. Make it a little smaller. So I can see it all on one line. There we go. Make sure I've spelled everything right. The type tool is a little annoying because you need to fit everything in the box. Otherwise, it starts filling it with Latin text again. But what is nice about it is that you can keep editing it. Okay, so now I've got that type, but obviously this is a pretty boring solution. Right? I want a typeface that looks kind of more like the character of what I want. So, though sometimes you can have multiple approaches, but that doesn't look all that interesting. So what I do now is I go down the different typefaces and it will preview for me what Minus looks like. Right? This one looks pretty good. It's called Posterable, but there are lots. And you can spend a lot of time looking for one. And then we're going to modify it. So if I wanted something a little softer, That one's a good one. It's another good one. But I know I want it bold. That one's okay. That one's a little too futuristic. And then we get into all the wingdings, and then we get back to them again. And then, of course, designers collect a lot of their own typefaces. Oh, that one's pretty nice. Am I spelling menace right? Why does it look weird to me? Because I'm just looking at it too much? All right. I'm not the greatest speller, so always good to get new eyes. Then you get all the Japanese typefaces, the Arabic typefaces, a lot of options. Okay. This one I like. So I'm going to use that as a starting point. And then, of course, I can play with its size. Whoops. How do I up it? Let's see. Well, I can just play with its size after the fact. Okay. So instead of playing with the leading and the kerning here, though you can kind of adjust it as you select it. Remember, the kerning is the space between the letters. So that's shrinking the kerning. This is expanding it. I'll expand it a little bit. What I'm going to do is, once I'm sure I've spelled everything correctly, I am going to turn this into vector shapes. Take it out of the type tool into just regular vectors. The way you do that is you click on it, underneath it with the type tool, and you'll get this option for, you right click on it underneath the type on the blue line, and you get this option for creating outlines. When you create outlines, it turns the type into individual vectors. Once you have individual vectors, just like when I drew my own at the top, I can click each letter with my small selection tool and then use the large selection tool to transform it. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to tilt it a little bit. Actually, maybe I don't want to tilt it. Let's just play with scaling for now. And kerning. Now I go to the E. I'm going to keep the baseline the same for all of them. This is called modifying type. This has to get smaller, right? That A doesn't quite work like it should in this small format, so I'm going to have to modify that quite a bit, but I'll get there. And I can always just draw my own. The C is a little thin, but I can work with it. And maybe I just make this a little out of whack. And then the E, remember, you don't have to hit return. Large selection tool. I'm going to grow it to its end. Whoops. Sometimes the hardest thing is just getting things to line up. All right, let's give that C a little bit more space. Okay, now, how do I modify them individually? I can use the small selection tool, see the anchor points. Sometimes there's a lot of anchor points, right? And if you want to select just the corner and bring it down, this is a new technique. Under the small selection tool is what's called the lasso tool. It's very different than the lasso tool in Photoshop because this selects anchor points. But this way you can select groups of anchor points. So I want, let's see, what do I want? I want all of these anchor points selected. And then when I click with the small selection tool, one of them it will move all of them. Or I can do it this way. Just grab this top corner and then just move that. To kind of get the shape I want. So that's how you select multiple anchor points, is with that small selection lasso tool. And it's very helpful with type design. So if I want to move the stem of this E down, I select all of it with the lasso tool and then go to the small selection tool, grab one of those anchor points, and now it will grab all of them and I can move the stem where I want it. Let's play with the C. So how do I get this C to thicken up? I'm going to use the lasso tool to select all the inside edge and then use the small selection tool to move that and thicken it. Right. But this C is so different than what I was kind of thinking I wanted that I might just use the pencil tool. So using the pencil tool, I can make these obviously whatever kind of outline I want, as long as I start on the path and end on the path. And that's why the pencil tool is my favorite tool in Adobe Illustrator. Though it's acting weird at the moment. So let me save before I go too much further. Come on. This is my problem with new updates. Sometimes they will glitch in ways that haven't been fixed yet. There we go. So this is Illustrator, right? So I want to save this as Karl assignment 6, poster, whatever. This will be my black type, but I want to save it as an AI file, right? As an Adobe Illustrator file, because I'm still working on my black vector type. And I want all of those individual paths. So there, hand done. Here, starting to get there, modifying from existing type. And I'm just showing you both approaches. Usually you would use one or the other. Still being very glitchy. Okay, because Illustrator was being kind of a little glitchy, and it is the newest version, so those are to be somewhat expected. I saved my work and then I reopened it, and now I should be able to use the small selection tool, click on it, use the pencil tool. Come on. There we go. To start on the path and end on the path. And it's still being weird. Come on, Illustrator. What's the deal? Okay, I'm going to end the video here and just restart it with the defaults. Maybe start using Illustrator 2025. But the AI file will work for both. Because I think it's trying to load all the new tutorials and things, and it's glitching and slowing down. All right, so let's try this. And then I will try to finish up that type, and that's the goal for today.